Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 300. We had some fun with this one. We did the first in-house interview, so we had somebody in-house doing it, so we connected the Rodecaster to multiple mics. Brand new with this sort of stuff, so we kind of had some snafus. I even had the Rodecaster connect to the cell phone, and for whatever reason, it only gave us audio in one ear. So it's not the best overall sound quality. I apologize for that, but it is fun, and it is our 300th. And we can't wait to get to 600. So thank you, all of you, for helping us grow and become what we are today. And I really hope you guys enjoy the episode. Without further ado.
Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught.
They can tell us we're crazy, and we can say, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
Everything you knew was a goddamn lie. Would you up and explode like it's the 4th of July? Possessed by perfection in this land, if you're awake, you're the enemy. Where they lead, you will follow. Well, I guess that's just the way it goes. And if you look away, you'll be doing what they say. And if you look alive, you'll be singled out and tried. If you can't, every day. Pick your scene and take direction. And on I search to connect, but I don't wear a mask and I have no regret. Down on your knees, you don't look so calm. Open your eyes and the empire falls.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I welcome you to episode 300. I'm excited for this one. I'm also excited for episode 600, which is 300 later than right now. But I hope it doesn't take me as long to get there. Like, I hope there's something that happens in the podcast world where you start grabbing things and gravitating towards things. Geez, that was a bit of a mashup there. And you find your groove and you just start knocking them out one by one. I know some people that are putting them out daily, and eventually I'd like to get there, but so far my best attempt at one a week has been working well. It has taken 300 episodes to get us to where we are right now, and where we are right now is our very first in-house collab podcast. We have with us Christy Morrison from the Conscious Journey podcast, which I believe will be changing its name or being rebranded into something else, as we seem to have stumbled upon. How did you do that, Christy? First of all, welcome to the show, Christy Morrison.
Thank you.
How did you do all of the research? And you are one of the most diligent women I know. How did you miss a Mayo Clinic 1.5 million follower podcast called The Conscious Journey?
I think I ignored YouTube. I think I went down the rabbit hole of every other platform, and I was just like, oh yeah, we're good. It's nowhere else. Why? Because you'd think if you would hit it up on Google, it'd show up, but it never did. But it's a big following on YouTube, so I gotta change it.
Yeah, I guess I guess that's the thing. So we're also going to find out how well this works because we are sitting close together, and I bought the gear a long time ago to do a lot of in-house stuff. The intention was to have an in-house podcast, but it just didn't pan out. COVID hit and screwed us all up. So it became a Zoom or a call-in or a one-on-one individual show. And I think if I go back to episode 1 through 50, they're terrible. I mean, I had no real gear. I just had an idea.
I mean, I know mine are, so.
No, yours are good. You have good sound quality to yours. That counts for something.
Thanks.
And your message is good.
I had help.
And you have like this one guest that keeps, oh, that's me. He's great.
We have good conversations.
I think so. I think we've had a lot of fun in the past. Today's been a big podcast day for me. This is, I guested on a few shows earlier today, and this is, I don't know what day this is going to go out there, so I don't even know what day it is. Well, I know what day it is today, but I don't know what day it is when people will be listening to it. And furthermore, I don't know what day it is when people will be listening to it 5, 10, 15 years from now. So
exactly. It doesn't matter.
Whatever day you're having, ladies and gentlemen, make sure it's a good one.
I mean, the calendar is technically a scam anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I used to love that. Hearing that, what was it? Time is an illusion. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's 4:00 right now. But time is an illusion. Time is what you allow it to be inside your head. And for the longest time, like I said, I had a hard time with that. But it's amazing how once you grasp the idea that every single thing that we're doing in this realm and in this reality is a construct of what we believe it to be, the whole what came first, the chicken or the egg thing really sort of, I don't know, plays out. It's like what came first, my perception of time or time itself? And then everybody could easily say, well, time itself came first because if you were born in 1980, what were people in 1979 doing? What's your take on that?
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. Right? It sounds foolish when you say that, but it's like, if I wasn't here to perceive it, and if it just becomes a backstory to what I'm doing and what I'm living, then is that not the case?
That also goes with the theory or the thought of when you leave your house for the day, is your house still there? They say it's not.
The people that go,
it collapses.
The people that go missing in the great wilderness because this here matrix that we're in doesn't have the ability to render you, so you go missing. And like if it's just you out in like the Ozarks or whatever, or wherever the hell you go, they're like, well, we're not going to render for you, so we're just going to kick you back into the system, and people just go missing. And they're like, well, they get reincarnated or birthed back into the system. And I thought that's kind of funny. Like the machine's like, we're not rendering for you, so beat it. There's a movie called The 13th Floor, and they hypothesized on that, and I really enjoyed that movie about how we're a sim inside a sim inside a sim, and how the machine doesn't want to. The machine doesn't have any interest in creating more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, fuck you. Back you go. And that's the thing. Like we get set in our ways where we're like, I don't know. I do believe that somebody was born in 1979. My sister was born in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
Am I so absurd as to say that she wasn't here before me? Well, theoretically, yeah, I am that absurd. And I would say that because I only perceive her as being older than me because in this storyline, in this narrative, or wherever I am, she needs to be older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I have a definitive answer on that? No. Am I open to absolutely anything?
But also, too, the actual calendar is wrong. There's 13 months if they're actually going to be back to what was that day where they're like, oh, and they took it over. So it really doesn't matter because technically maybe we all are, maybe I'm not 40, maybe I'm 27.
I mean, no, you it's true though. It's true because what is that story? The 365 days divided by 13 is 28 days evenly, and then there's the extra day, which is April 1st.
There's a moon cycle, which is also lined up with the women's cycle, and there's a whole
and they tied that into April 1st being April Fool's Day, which is supposed to be like the first day of the year, which also ties into when you make your your wishes, whatever your New Year's wishes, like you're wishing on
Instead of January 1st being the new year, it's
supposed to be April 1st.
Yeah.
The beginning of spring and all that
Exactly.
sort of stuff.
which makes sense because in spring, like every cycle happens,
Comes back to life.
comes back to life. Why are we making goals in the middle of fucking winter when we're supposed to be resting?
And that makes perfect sense to me, except for like the people in Ecuador, everything's always growing. You know, is there a spring in
But they
Ecuador?
do.
What?
Well, Costa Rica, for example, they have cycles.
Okay.
They don't get snow, but they still have their seasons.
Oh yeah, rainy season, foggy season.
Yeah. You get a brown season and a green season.
There you go. There you go. There's fascination behind that too, because I mean, this goes to show that even inside the belief system that we have, there's lies that we need to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being told, you know, stand for something or fall for everything. And that used to get me quite a bit, but
Agreed.
it doesn't get me anymore. Now it's like, if I stand for something, I limit myself on something else.
Exactly.
So I have strong convictions about certain things, but I'm able to question everything.
But that's how life should be. We should be questioning absolutely everything. And everyone's so set on, or most people are set on, this is how it is. This is how we've always done it. This is what I've been taught. Well, who cares? Like, why are you not questioning it? Why do we wipe our ass the way we wipe our ass? Try it a different way.
Who's talking about ass Cheerios now? That's a throwback to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. The one that didn't make
Never
the air.
aired,
That's right.
actually.
Never made the air.
Yeah.
So that's just a little Easter egg
Inside joke.
for future. Time to me is a beautiful construct. It's one of those things where, again, once you believe in it, it holds you. They talk about birthdays. They say if you celebrate birthdays, you're acknowledging a year. You're acknowledging
That's
being
why
older.
Prince never celebrated.
And you say, am I 40? Well, you are if you say you are.
Exactly.
Right? And if you say you are, then you equate to being 40. Does my back hurt? Only because I'm 40, you know? And then there's 60-year-olds that'll look at you and go, you're just a young pup. Like, you know, we tell ourselves a story and we create a reality based on what we choose to believe to be the truth.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I think, is there a way to throw out the time, the schedule, the this, the that?
Everything needs to be questioned.
Yeah.
But why are people so hung up on a calendar? I have to have this day. Yes, I understand for the 3D world, it operates on those things. But throw all those things that we've been told, all constructs, all the systems out the window. We don't need any of it. We don't need a job. We don't need money. We can eat for free. We can grow it ourselves.
Yeah.
People are like, no, you can't. I'm like, yeah, you actually can. We need to heat our house. We need money to heat our house. No, fire's free. Trees are free. We just got lazy. And then made ourselves slaves.
We allowed somebody to tell us what to do. And we kept allowing somebody to tell us what to do until inch by inch, piece by piece, we're going to eventually have them just hand us general income.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll
That'll
be that.
never happen for me. Fuck that. I'll move into a treehouse.
Now, I look at this stuff and I think the further into it I go, the crazier I look.
I mean, that's normal.
Yeah.
What's that guy in Europe who's, forget his name. I have his book sitting on my shelf, but he's been pretty much told he's crazy by everyone. And now everyone's coming around and be like, oh, you're onto something.
Yeah, you were referring to David Icke. He's actually been on my buddy's podcast. Well, Jay, you know Jay.
Yeah.
I should get Jay on the podcast right now. I think Jay'd answer the phone if I called him.
Maybe.
It'd be kind of funny, eh?
Do a little do-do-do-do paging.
Yeah.
Jay, get on the line here, buddy.
Yeah. See if he answers the phone. So
He's got some wild theories, and a lot of people thought he was absolutely crazy. And then COVID hit, and people were like, oh my God, he was right. And alarm bells started going off.
what was he right about? I mean, I know that he was right about a lot of stuff, but in your mind, like what's popping up?
To be honest, when I read his book, it was a lot of theories about how there's mind control, there's like everything that's happening. Like everything that's actually happened up until now. They're going to lock things down. They're going to force things upon us. They're going to have tiny ass cities.
And you don't view that as fear mongering? You might hear some ringing in
he
the
is,
background,
for
ladies and
sure.
gentlemen. We're going to try and get Jason on the phone here.
I mean, I read his book. Now it sits on my shelf. I don't I don't hold truth to one person in the world.
No.
Ever. I read it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But the point was, people thought he was crazy. And then a lot of things he said was
Jason.
true.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, Jason. I'm calling you right now. There's a bit of noise, so we won't keep you on for too long because I can hear the background noise. This is my 300th episode, and I'm actually doing an in-house conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and we were talking about David Icke, and I said, you know what, my buddy Jason's had Icke on his show, so let's see if we can call out and get a hold of Jason and have him just say hello on my 300th episode.
Yeah, well, sure.
So
You mean you're doing your episode right now?
you're on the air right now. This is live. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. I'm in Prince Edward Island right now, just making my way back home to Ottawa.
That is absolutely amazing. I'm having an interesting thing where you're only coming in on the left ear, which means that for the listeners, you're only going to be in on the left ear as well. So I apologize to you guys for that sound quality right now. And Christy doesn't have the master earphone, and so she can't hear you either.
I can't hear, but hello.
He can hear you.
How are you?
Yeah. So, how was your trip out east, and what was your conversation with Icke like, just in, a tonality?
You know what? I think the biggest misconception when it comes to Icke with a lot of people that haven't really taken a look at his body of work would be like, lizard people and, being God, right? And the reality is he's an incredible thinker, not only just a free thinker, but a scholar as well. And the way that he spoke on the heart and love and light is something that I've always gravitated towards when it comes to David Icke. And very much like Max Egan, who I was speaking with not that long ago, the fact that information is just light, and people can put whatever energy that they want into that information. But at the end of the day, it just all comes down to you, how you decide to view the world, your perspective, and to not let anybody else dim your shine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. And, Christy was saying how, people were first sort of flambasting him and how his stuff eventually came to fruition and became moderately true. Same with Alex Jones, they're turning the frogs gay, and the studies came out that they were turning the frogs gay. So,
if you take a look at David Icke's stuff on freedom of speech and the suppression of freedom of expression, from just 5 years ago, pre-COVID,
right?
I mean, it's almost like the guy had it down by the letter. It's alarming how accurate he was before the pandemic came into play, and then we saw that gross overstepping of our freedom of right, our freedom of movement, our freedom of expression, and our freedom of information.
Wild. It was wild to see that take place as well. To witness that in all of our stuff. I mean, the censorship went through the roof, and I don't know if people remember the interview with our fearless leader on French television, saying that those who didn't agree with him needed to be.
Should they be tolerated? I think he said. He's like, should we tolerate these people?
Yeah, something needs to be done.
Like what?
Yeah, and then we're racist and misogynist.
Yeah. We were racist and misogynist, and something needed to be done about us.
I mean, just for having a thought, a question, and it drove me nuts. But
the guy declares war on half the country, and then afterwards says he never said it. It's like, oh, come on. So I don't know. What do you believe? What do you think is going on? And this is all totally off the cuff. So I love that you're a host as well, so you can just whatever it was you were doing, you just stopped and gave us a few minutes on this. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
What's your take? What's your take on what's going on with that, with regards to the freedom of speech, and as it's progressing right now? Because I just got a funny thing too. I'll sort of before you answer that. I went to post. I'm really making fun of the all of the Olympics. The guy with the wiener that slapped the thing, and the men beating the women up in the boxing, and how everybody's up in arms about that, and how it really baits the question of race, who's what and who's born what. One of the major characteristics of a male is a profound Adam's apple, which this Amon character has. So I posted something about that, and then Facebook pulled it back and said, "There's no proof this man was ever a man before." So they fact checked me on that. I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen a fact checker in a long time." So yeah, I got fact checked this morning.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I guess your take on, I don't know. Have you been following any of that? The Olympics, the boxing, the.
So which one is it? Are we doing Justin Trudeau or the Olympics?
Let's go Trudeau first.
Horrible.
Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau, and he needs to go. He's horrible. I don't like his policies. I mean, I hate to say it, but back in the day, like his very first term, like that is where I placed my vote. And I was hoping that maybe somebody new and somebody kind of like outside of politics, even though he had the name, maybe that would breed something different for Canada. And you know what? For the most part, I didn't have that much problem with it. I look at all politicians as kind of being referees in sports, right? Like you're a hockey referee, you're not supposed to call, a penalty in the overtime of a Stanley Cup playoff game unless it's absolutely necessary. You're not supposed to notice them on the ice. And what Justin Trudeau did during the pandemic is that it was obvious that the referee was on the ice. Mm-hmm. You're not doing the stuff that we need you to do in regards to making sure that infrastructure was there. If anything, the pandemic exposed how poor our infrastructure was because we were not in any way, shape, or form equipped for a pandemic. But I mean, the truth is the problem has been the past decade or so where, I mean, you want to go to the emergency room and if you're not shot, you're going to be basically staying there for a week, but it's free.
Yeah.
And then in regards to what's happening with the Olympics, you know what? There's definitely a heightened sense of awareness in regards to like an agenda that's out there. And I think sometimes though, it might be a little bit misplaced. The opening ceremonies, that was tough. That was tough to watch. And I mean, they're saying it wasn't supposed to be anything like the Last Supper, but you're going to tell me that there's a whole fucking committee of people that are sitting around a table taking a look at like how this is going to unfold. And not one said, you know what, this kind of looks a little bit like the Last Supper. I mean, you could have easily put some things up on the screen to just explain what it was that was happening if it wasn't like the Last Supper. And if this were other religions, I mean, there would be bomb threats and there would be people rioting outside the stadium. But here we do things a little bit differently. We complain on the internet. Mm-hmm. And then in regards to the transgender thing, well, they're saying it's not a transgender. If I had to take a real good guess, because there's been a lot of confidentiality around the whole subject, is that maybe they were maybe she was born with both, like she has a little micro wee thing going on. Right. that leads to having the higher testosterone. So, who knows? Like you say, Adam, is that, we kind of like live in a clown world. Yeah. And it's really hard to kind of figure out what's going on. And I think you've always had like a really good message in regards to, you got to go out there, you got to live your life, and you got to make the best out of what is sometimes not an ideal situation. And the fact that you're out there enlightening people and getting people to free think and expand their awareness, I think is a really awesome thing.
Well, thank you very much for that kudos, good friend. And yeah, I don't have a set stance on anything. We were talking a little bit earlier, and I said, I used to believe in stand for something or fall for everything, but I see it now, and it's like you have to be open to absolutely everything. You can't, if you stand firm on something, you're closing yourself off to something else. And for me,
that's where growth happens too.
Yeah, and I look at this and I think to myself, okay, well, I can expand, I can grow. With regards to those, the Olympian, I don't care one way or the other. I think if anything, it's tarnishing the sport. And what I mean by that is this woman who claims to be a woman. Has the bone structure of a man, and has the ability to create muscle much like a man, and has an Adam's apple. The community has stated flat out that genitalia doesn't define sex. And I think that if steroids or if there was some way to have an advantage, you'd have an issue. And what it's also bringing up too is there were a bunch of other athletes that were stealing medals from women in 2016. If you look at the top placing triathletes or the runners, the long distance runners, all XY chromosome females. but XY chromosome is male, not YY. So, you know, anyone can get into a battle of semantics about the whole thing, but at the end of the day, women are losing. And this war on women is to me is really annoying. The war on men is,
Tell
I guess,
me about it.
yeah, yeah. The war on
I'm surprised more women. I'm surprised more women aren't upset by the whole thing. To be quite honest, because you live your life as a woman the entire way through, and then somebody comes around. I feel like there should be a little bit of a penalty that it took you so long to figure out what it was that you were going to identify as. Women, I don't think identify with how a drag queen dresses.
right.
No.
Right, like that's not how they live their lives, but that's how a woman is defined, or I guess that's how they perceive.
Well, we do have a woman here.
With
What's your take on the boxing situation?
So well, obviously, I'm not excited about it. I have a friend who's a doctor, and she commented on a post that I made, and she said that technically this person has XY chromosomes, and some women are born with XY chromosomes. And I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I don't understand that shit. But what I do understand is, as a woman, we've had to fight for a lot of things throughout the years. And once we actually have, let's say, a female category where we can actually compete in something, well, now we're back to a realm of, okay, well, this person is labeled as a woman. They have XY chromosomes. They are bigger. Their muscles are different. They hit harder. Frankly, it drives me nuts because the lines are so blurred, and you can't have these conversations about being called trans. What are they called?
Transphobe?
Yeah, a transphobe. Like, I'm not a transphobe. I want to have this conversation because if this is so important, and so is a male category, and so is a female category, why can't we have these conversations
Why can't
so we
it
can
be
figure
open
it
for
out?
debate? Yeah.
Why can't we do this? Because to be honest, if I was an Olympian as a female, and I am, if
An
I
Olympian
trained,
or a female?
both.
Okay.
If I was an Olympic female athlete and I trained my entire life and I made it to the ring in the Olympics, you bet your ass I'd be really pissed off if I'm fighting someone who's, 4 feet taller than me. Their arm span is, whatever inches longer. They hit harder. And I'm like, what am I fighting here? Like, can we have I'm expecting to fight someone in my own weight range, in my own wingspan range, in my own
Yeah, skill versus skill.
Yeah.
Without having adamantium claws.
I just want the conversation to be more open out there and not be labeled as a transphobe or a whatever because I'm asking questions and I want the conversation to happen.
They even bastardized that. Phobia used to mean that you were afraid of something. I'm not afraid of anything.
Exactly.
And I'm not mad at you for believing what you believe in, but at what point do we get to talk turkey, as they used to say?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, them old folks and them old timers, Jason, talking turkey.
I mean, also too, like, you can always bring it back to like local and in your own backyard. As a woman, if I'm in a change room and there's a transgendered person in the same change room with me, if you have a penis, I don't want you in my change room.
Yeah.
If you have gone through the process of removing your penis and you are fully committed to the process, then you know what? I might have a different view because as far as I'm concerned, it seems like you can walk in the bathroom and say, hey, I identify as a woman, and you just say the words and you're allowed to be in that room.
And now you're the bad guy because you don't want me there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get out of here. I'm going to leave you with a final thought, though, in regards to this, because I think it's very interesting. I have no problem with what people want to do with their own bodies and how they express themselves.
Perfect.
All the more power to you.
Yep.
But I think there's two things that you just don't get to do, right, as a transitioning male to a female. That's like go into the bathrooms, like you said, if that is not complete. I don't know how you police something like that. And you just don't get to play sports. Like everything else is on the table. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And we're just saying in the case of just fairness when it comes to sport, let's just find another way to get that done. Either continue to compete in the sport that you were as that initial sex, or who knows, maybe there'll eventually be enough people that transition to where they can kind of have their own thing. I know that sounds like really horrible to some, or they'll say, well, geez, that's like, you're kind of like segregating them. But I mean, I don't have to do that. They segregate themselves. There's all these different pronouns. There's, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever, just even within the flag, the LGBTQ++. I don't even know what those pluses are. Right. And I'm not saying that like out of any type of prejudice whatsoever, opposed to just trying to find a place where it works for everybody, and where it can be fair. So, guys, thank you very much for having me. My friends here, I'm going to jump inside of Gene's restaurant where they have a delicious club sandwich.
Shout out to Gene's out in PEI.
Okay, you take care, brother.
Also, before you go, shout out to you and your show. If you want to plug yourself, please do.
Yeah, but it's a free thinking podcast, not as deep of that as Dadam's. I find it more to be kind of like a stepping stone type of podcast, but it's all about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. It's called the Launchpad Podcast featuring J-Man. Check it out.
Yes, you guys will love his stuff. And Jay will be on the show in full sometime soon because we love that. Jay, thank you very much. Take care, brother.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, that was kind of fun. These impromptu things. It's always good to get Jay's take. Sorry again, ladies and gentlemen, for the audio. I'm going to see if I can fix that in post, but he was only coming in through one ear, so when you do things on the fly, you never really understand what it was. Were you hearing him in 2 ears or just one?
Just one.
Yeah. And then sometimes it fixes itself, so who knows? It's done it before, and it's weird because it's Bluetooth, so it's not like I'm wired into anything. I don't know why it's screwing that. That's Bluetoothing directly to my phone. So
Beautiful.
I don't know. Yes. Or Bluetoothing directly to the Rodecaster. Hey, if you guys know why I can't get 2 ears of sound all the time, send me an email. I'd love to hear it. Also, feel free to text or call in. We will play your voicemail if it's a good one. 647-338-1265 on iMessage. That's free because it is an iPhone. If you have an Android, that might cost money. But texting and all that stuff these days is kind of cheap or free now in North America. If you're in Europe and all that sort of stuff, certainly something to look into. I have no idea what the rates would be, but we'd love to hear from you.
I can email you.
Yeah, you can email info at the Mental Mastery Alliance. You can text in. You can do all that fun stuff. But yeah, we want to grow and expand. We're going to get into video eventually. You guys get to see my pretty face, even though I do have a face for radio.
No, you don't.
There's a lot of people that tell me, get on there, get on the video. And yeah, like what Jason was saying, like how do you broach the subject? Because so many people want to get mad at you for being like, you can't say those things. And it's like, well, if we can't talk about them, what the hell are we supposed to do?
Well, there are people in the community that are speaking out. Like even Caitlyn Jenner, she's probably the most famous transgendered athlete.
Olympian.
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah.
Transitioned to Caitlyn Jenner, and she is speaking out saying, no, you need to compete in a male category.
Right.
And I'm like, good on you for saying something.
And that swimmer chick, Leah, whatever.
Thomas, something like that.
Apparently the NCAA took all her medals away and gave them to the females in the category.
Right.
So, I mean, like there's a thing there, and it's like, oh, but if you say that, you're a bigot. And honestly, I don't think that that's the case.
This isn't coming out of hate. This is coming out of pure wanting to solve something that is clearly an issue. Yeah.
And it's funny because the people who accuse you of being hateful are the ones who are living in hate.
Are the ones who are the most hateful. Yeah. They're saying, you're an asshole, you're hateful. I'm like, actually, no, I don't hate anyone. There's not a bone in my body that hates anything.
Yeah.
I just want to have a conversation because it's important.
Yeah, don't point your hate at me and assume that I'm just like you.
Yeah.
If I had hair, it would not be dyed blue.
Yeah. I used to be offended by that. I'd be like, hey, I dyed my hair. I had a purple, I had a pink, and then I'm like...
Well, one thing that you realize too is as you observe the third dimension, as you observe these worlds, you see that people with blue hair and pink hair and all that sort of stuff, and to anyone listening that may get offended, I apologize in advance. Actually, before I finish that sentence, let's go ahead and press this here button.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
Excellent. I think that you've been manipulated. I think that if you've got the pink hair or the blue hair, you've been manipulated into doing it. I saw a meme somewhere that said, how come dyeing your hair blue makes you fat? I'm an overweight individual, and again, I don't have any hair, but that meme made me laugh. It's one of those things where it's like, if you can't poke fun at yourself and if you're too serious about everything, you're literally going to die young simply because you're so stressed out about absolutely everything.
This whole world has become way too serious. Everyone's pissed off all the time and hates everyone. They're picking fights with you. You know, you say I like bananas. You're like, why the fuck don't you like apples?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god.
Which is a beautiful segue into the schlong jump.
Oh, the schlonger.
I don't know if you guys have seen this one. I would hope you have. The other news out of the Olympics.
I mean, he won an award technically.
Did he get it? He didn't get a medal.
No, but he will for that schlong.
He'll get a hawk tui from one or two people. That's for sure. This guy trained his whole life, and I just talked about this with Elisa on her show, Elisa Unfiltered. Great podcast. Get over there and check her out. This guy trained forever to get to where he is. And I'll tell you this, in my life, I would like to execute one successful high jump. I just want that pole to bend. And knowing
You
me,
want to do a high jump?
I want to do a high jump. Yeah. Yeah. I think
It's never been on my goal list.
it's just watching them and that thing bends and you get like, I don't want to do like a massive one, but I just want to stick the pole in and go, what? You know, like it doesn't have to be high or like big or anything like that. I just want the process to work for me at least once. And I'm a big dude. So like, I'm going to have to lose a little bit of weight and I'm going to have to get a heavy duty pole. Anyway, but imagine training your whole life and going like, I don't know how high they jump, 40 feet. I don't know.
I don't know how you guys take it differently than women, but I don't know. If I was a guy, I would be like, yeah, I didn't get any medals, but my schlong's pretty great.
I'm pretty famous.
Yeah, I'm the schlong guy.
Yeah. Did you win any medals at the Olympics? Sort of.
Like some people might take that to heart and be like, oh man, I worked so hard and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, man,
This guy killed it.
I would hang my own medal around my dick.
This is where it goes. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The old dick medal show.
That's probably why I don't have a dick.
Or a medal. So I look at this and I think to myself, like way back in the day, 4 years ago, if this were a woman whose tits got in the way of the medal, we'd all be up in arms and so many people would have so much to say and how it's just unfair that men and women are different and blah, 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 blah. And how she got busted out of the medals because of her body. And we'd all be pointing the finger all over the place. But this guy does it and he becomes a famous meme because his sexual organ just started flopping in the wind, and it certainly flops. I've seen some videos. It's pretty amazing that it's okay to attack men. And we were talking about women being attacked, women in sport being attacked. The war on women, the war on femininity, the war on masculinity took place as well, where everyone's talking about toxic masculinity.
Completely.
And the toxic masculinity is basically not masculinity at all. It's the result of a lack of masculinity. But if you look at every single television commercial or anything, the North American white male is an absolute idiot. He's an idiot. He's stupid. He can't put a pickle jar on anything on any of the commercials. He's been relegated to carrying all the groceries and tripping on his way up the stairs. This is what the North American white male has been reduced to. And I say white male and all of a sudden it's racist. I watched these guys do a study about, what was it, the women? Would you rather spend a week with a gorilla or
it's a bear or a man?
Or a man, right?
Yeah, and all the women are picking the bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, somebody did that same study and they said, this is how bigotry starts. Somebody did that exact same study and instead of saying a man, they said, would you rather spend a week with a bear or a black man?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the thing got skewed, right? Because if I say the bear, then I'm racist. If I say that, but it's okay to be, racist and hateful towards just a man or men in general. But when you put a color to it, now you're a terrible person.
All of this, actually, if you take a look at it on a macro level, it's just another way to divide us all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. A massive rank of division. And
that's a world I don't even want to play in. Like people are so easy to categorize and label, and I'm this, I'm that, I'm, neurodivergent, I'm gay, I'm a man, I'm a black man, I'm a black woman, there's like an infinite amount of fucking labels, and I think we should just throw them all in the blender and be like, yo.
Yeah, we're in. Yeah, do you, be you, love you.
Yeah, but why label it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need a label for everything.
Yeah, and we're sitting in this position saying that, right? But we're both cisgender, female, male, alpha, blah, blah, blahs. And the truth is, I don't care. I never cared if you were gay. And I believe I represent the majority. And the ones who say otherwise are typically, I saw the other clip that I saw too. Like, who do you feel is oppressing you? Well, mostly me, I guess. You know, and they say these things, and you look at all these clips, and that's another problem that we have is we have so many clips out there for us to choose from, to look at, and the majority of these clips are fabricated. They're made up, just for
completely.
you.
Like my hairdresser, gay man. Every time I go see him, he's on a rant about how he hates that there's this whole agenda. And he's like, I just want to be a normal person. I don't want someone to be like, hey, man, you're gay. I want them to be like, hey, man, nice to meet your husband.
Yeah.
Just treat me like a normal person. And I'm like, exactly.
But does that make him a bad person? Does that make him...
Oh, yeah, he's ostracized.
Against the movement?
Exactly. People are like, you're against gay people. He's like, I am a gay person.
I am gay people.
So how can I?
Yeah. And I do know that my gay friends are the same. They're like, you know, I'm sick of the whole community. Like, just remove us from it. Right? He goes, and here's another problem too. If you poke this beast, remember that we're the OGs. We're the ones that fought for our own
so we
true
see what's wrong with the world.
Civil rights. Like the OG gangsta gay men. He goes, we're the ones that fought. He goes, don't think we won't fight you. We don't want to have anything to do with kids. We don't want to have anything to do with the bastardization of what people do, the sanctity of what people do.
Yeah.
We don't want to have anything to do with that.
Oh, so what's the solution to fixing the world?
Well, you don't have to fix the world, actually, in my opinion.
Fix yourself.
You just have to observe it and decide where it is that you want to stand, lay, fall, play.
That's literally where we are right now.
Yeah.
People are evaluating everything around them and they're saying, this I resonate, this I want no part of.
Yeah.
That's how the world gets fixed. And by fixed, I mean, I hope, less labels, less wars.
Well,
but that's like...
The wars are stupid, too.
Oh, yeah.
The wars people don't even pay attention to. We're trained to believe in patriotism. And then after that, we go to war because old men said these people are saying these things about your country or about your people, or we're fighting for freedom. I was talking with Elisa this morning about this. America dropped 2 bombs in 1941 on Japan, wiping out 100,000 people, men, women, and children. Birds were disintegrated in the air. And we dropped that bomb on Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We dropped one, and then we did it again. When I say we, I'm just saying North America. I'm a Canadian. I wasn't part of that. There is a general acceptance amongst most people that that's okay, that we eradicated all of those lives simply because their only crime was that they were living under Japanese control. We hear about all of these things and we don't do anything about it. We don't seem to understand as a collective entity and source and movement and person out there that we don't need to put up with the narrative and the story and the killing and the war. We don't need to put up with it. We don't need to be a part of it. We don't need to agree with it. You're seeing certain awarenesses take place, and what they have to do is keep us so overly aware of the tripe and the shit that's going on in today's day and age, so we don't question our past, so we don't question more and more and more about this. And I'm seeing this happen. I'm seeing this play out, but once you start questioning that kind of war, once you start questioning old time war and you see the death and you see what they did and you ask yourself, am I going to be part of that? And we say no. And then we hear things like Canada signs off on another $36 billion to Ukraine. And in my mind, money is, if $36 billion goes to another country, that money should be used to, let's say, rebuild the country or even buy more tanks. So they have to spend that money. So theoretically, that money gets spent. And theoretically, where that money gets spent should then end up in somebody else's hand. The man who built the tank, the man who rebuilt the city, the man who did this. That money has to end up in his pocket. And that man should need food. So in theory, it should help the economy. Dumping $36 billion in the economy.
Oh, but where does it go?
But it does. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing. Where does it go? Oh, we have to print more money. Where does it go? Oh, inflation. Where does it go? Lies, lies, lies. So there's going to come a point in time where the distraction of what gender you are, the distraction of what race, color, creed you are is going to go out the window. And people are going to all stand up and go, every last one of us is going to stand up and go, wait the Wait a minute. I'm paying 52% tax plus. At the end of the day, I'm probably averaging like in
We're
Canada.
close to about 80.
Yeah, 60 to 80% of your dollars goes to tax because after all of your income tax, if you're making over $250,000, you're now being taxed on the gas that you buy. You're being taxed on the food that you pick up. You're being taxed on every single thing that you bring into your house. And you're being taxed when you die. You're being taxed when you transfer
carbon.
money. You're being taxed on how much it rains.
Oh,
You get an extra bill in Ontario by the size of your roof because you're collecting rainwater. You're getting taxed on that, on how much your property uses the sewer.
So why don't we just remove ourselves from the system? We'll just go live in a tree.
Because the number one thing that people say is you don't want to pay taxes, how are we going to get roads? Well, I'll tell you what.
Oh my God.
So instead of you giving away 80% of your money, give me a penny or a fraction of a penny for every dollar that you make.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that your roads are good.
Exactly.
And we'll take another fraction of that penny and we'll make sure that the schools are good. Real good, not indoctrination camps.
I think people who have that kind of mindset has never traveled.
100%.
Go to Costa Rica. You know I love that country. I'm there all the time. They don't tax their citizens into poverty.
Yeah.
Their roads are paved. Yeah, there's shitty roads out there, but there's also shitty roads here. And we pay 80% of our taxes. And if you're like, oh, it's all going to the roads. No, it's divided all over the place for a bunch of shit. And most of the time it's in other countries' pockets. Yeah,
it's a scam. It's the elite just stealing from us and calling it taxation. And
But we're idiots.
Yeah, it's also got nothing to do with the money itself. It has everything to do with you not having the money.
Mm-hmm.
So
because if we have too much money, we're not going to be good little employees. We're going to be doing other things.
We're going to be out creating and figuring out who and what we are.
Exactly.
And why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing. You're going to find out what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And that to me is the whole thing behind money. So,
well, there's different perspectives, right? The 3D mindset and the 5D mindset, and there's also
6, 7, 8, 9D.
Exactly.
I want to get up there. 9D.
I mean, I think if we were to drop 9D principles, I say in air quotes, most people aren't even getting to the 5D principles yet. They're like, mind exploded. You're fucking crazy.
Yeah. And I know that I'm crazy to a lot of people, and I'm crazy to myself. And this is one of those things where speaking really helps. Like just having this podcast, allowing myself to vent and to air things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to pour stuff out to take in new stuff.
100%.
And that's, people are like, I love that other meme too. It's like, grown men don't go to therapy. They just start a podcast. There's massive amounts of truth behind that. And the podcast is massively beneficial, 100%, to really help yourself work your way through what it is that you need to work through. You had a show.
Mm-hmm.
You have a show. You got to rename it, but it's good.
I do have to rename it.
Yeah.
People can send me suggestions.
Oh.
I think I could change it to like Conscious Reflections.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Conscious Crystals with Christy.
Yeah, no, people will turn that into some type of racist spin.
Conscious Crystals?
Yeah. With Christy.
Oh, shit. Yeah, my brain had to take a second. I'll take a beat on that. Yeah.
It'll have to be CCK.
Yeah. Crystal CH. Oh, man. That's the world, the world we live in. Everybody wants to shoot down anyone doing anything. And it's funny. If you say something, there's 10 people that want to bring you down. And that's why a lot of people don't say anything. And that's also the world that we live in. We're trained to be afraid to speak your mind.
But that's where we actually are beginning to see these conversations happen, right? A lot of people are not taking these conversations into a public forum. So a lot of people are asking questions. Why are they not saying things out loud? Well, it's because to fight with someone who's not actually going to listen to you on Facebook is a waste of time. But these conversations are happening behind these closed doors with people that they can actually have a conversation with.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you and I grow from this conversation, because anyone that hates these kind of conversations and doesn't have the ability to jump in right away isn't going to listen to the whole show.
No.
They're going to sit there and
they
be
lost
agitated.
Us at the Olympic chat.
Exactly. I don't want to talk about dick flex.
I do.
Yeah, most people do. It's funny to talk about a man's penis preventing him from getting a gold medal. It's a shame that it happened, but it's funny. And if it was a woman, we'd all be terrible if we said that it was a shame or that it was supposed to happen. I don't even know anymore.
I would love it if my knockers just
took a gold medal away from you.
Yeah. I'd be pissed, but I'd also be like, at least they're my tits.
You'd be the one that wins. You know, you're coming up to the line, you're running up, you're just like, you just come in chest first.
One by a millimeter because of my nipples.
She won by a nipple. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Photo finish. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. It's good to have a laugh. It's good to be, I don't know. It's in this day and age, you have to. You know, I see the comics, the comedians coming back, and I like that too. But at the same time, I see them as being sort of agenda pushy, the comedians that they're returning. Now, it sounds terrible. So people would say, okay, so if you're against the comedians coming back and the comedians being funny, like Jeff Curry and Norm, all the names are gone into my head. Segura, all these lads that I kind of looked up to, but when you see them being sort of pushed, Jeff Dye, when you see them being pushed on you, you're like why? And why are they traveling in packs of 4 or 5? And why is the agenda now being allowed to be spoken of? Wherein before, if you made mention of anything, you were ostracized. Like now they're like, okay, well now I'm allowed to talk about this. Now I'm allowed to make fun of this. There was a moment in time where comedians were getting canceled left, right, and center. Left, right, and center. But now they're being promoted for their almost controversial or aggressive stance towards things. I see this stuff and I think it's funny to laugh, and it really is. Like Jeff Dye is one of the funniest guys out there, but you know, he's got this arrogant side to him that is almost unpalatable. But he's funny, right? But he's a good-looking white male. Shame on him. You know, so it's like, you know, how do you win this? How do you win this? And how do you say, okay, you can't be this, you can't be that, and you can't have these opinions. And the way I look at it, it's just like fucking everybody's on the same, or everything that is happening is what's part of the system that's going to help you become a better version of who you are.
100%.
I think that's the easiest way to put that.
Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I really don't care about much happening around me.
Yeah.
I see it, but I'm like, it's happening. I used to get upset. I used to be mad. Like when I was in high school, I'd be a raging teenager.
Pink-haired.
I had, pink hair, ragey, hormonal. PETA, murder's fucking first murder, blah, 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 all that shit. Gotta be vegan. Everyone must die if you're not. But now I'm just like, what the hell? A little wiser now. Obviously had a few more years since then, but as things show up, you can join the conversation and be angry about it, or you can just let it be what it is. It's going to happen with or without us. Right. It's adding to other people's experiences for them to question their own realities. Like, I absolutely loved COVID.
Such a fun thing to say.
I only loved it because it made people question a lot of things. And from my hippie perspective, it made people question how much time they're spending with their family, the connections that they have, what they do at home, their kids, blah, 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 all that shit.
COVID opened up people's eyes. Do I need to be at the office? It changed everything, right? It's still changing things. COVID has wiped out, its intention is to wipe out the middle class.
Are we allowed to use that C word, or are we going to get like blocked now? Or is it free talk on the?
I think we're allowed to use it. We're not on the YouTube yet. But yeah, I don't think COVID is a blocker anymore.
You have to look at it from a macro perspective and what it's done. I see the positive it's done in the world. Yes, it's done a lot of negative. And yes, I'm probably going to get hate mail. I'm like, grandma died, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But
yeah,
look at the big picture. Look at the 5D perspective.
Well, even mathematically and statistically, you can look at the quote unquote death charts on the world. And there was no difference the year before, the year after.
Oh, I know. I talk to my dad about that all the time. COVID. He doesn't register.
So that went through, and there was no difference. There was no difference in the thing. However, after a certain
moment of
medical
time.
aid was introduced, there was a rapid growth in the quote unquote mortality rate, the mathematical charted mortality rate in the world.
It's still happening.
After people decided that they were going to, I don't know, pierce their skin with something and get it once or twice or 3 or 4 times, which I won't talk about because that is a trigger still. Can't say those words. Mm-hmm. But those are the things that are changing the mortality numbers in this realm.
looking back, people are going to see, because everything's hindsight 2020, right? People are going to look back and they'll be like, oh, wow, look at these numbers. Look at what's happened. What happened at this time?
Yeah.
But
Well-
in the meantime, you're still an idiot.
Yeah, and you are, I am, we all are.
Yeah.
Tuskegee experiments were an actual legitimate and tangible thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how anyone can trust the government after the Tuskegee experiments. And not a lot of people even know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to talk about what the Tuskegee experiments are. If you have any interest, feel free to
They
look
can
them up.
find it.
But to me, it shatters the realms and realities. And I'll tell you this too: COVID was so poorly executed
Yep.
that it made me question all of it. So when they would say back in the day, it's like, the V word is good for you, and I would have been like, yeah, sure, but just not this one. This one's too rushed. It's too this. It's too that.
Exactly.
But now I look at it. I look at all of it, and I go, there's nefariousness in everything. So they pushed it so hard that it's absurd. It would be foolish for me to think that this is going to be anything other than an additional part of the scam.
And the fact that a group of people got richer off of all of that,
Yeah.
that makes me angry.
And the fact that AstraZeneca is no longer fit for human consumption
Yeah.
because it was creating blood clots, which also would have been a trigger word that would have got us banned and shadow banned at the time. But it's everywhere. It's in the news. They've changed the name of what the clotting is.
Yeah.
I think somebody said blood bulges or something like that.
Oh my God.
But we all know what it is and what it meant. So AstraZeneca is off the market. And then you're going to get people that are going to try to backlash that. I don't think anyone listening to this show is willing to backlash that bullshit. I think the majority of us are sort of, if they are vaccinated, they regretted it.
I know the people in my life are. And the ones that aren't, they are still part of, the whole 3D system. So I
Yeah.
love them for where they are.
I'm a fan of everybody in my life. There was a time where I had to, change people
Yeah.
or had the idea that I needed to change people. But now it's just a matter of resonating with the people, seeing who is interacting with me and on what level and how much fun we're going to have.
I think that's the biggest thing that hit me, and I think it even happened during COVID, was the realization of I should not take away from other people's experiences in life.
Yes.
Meaning, I should not tell them what to do or what the answers are, because if you've been through it, it's easy to say, okay, you should do X, Y, Z to get out of the shit show that you're in.
Right.
But you're stealing that experience from someone. You're stealing that lesson. And we all know from school, if you're told the answer, you're going to forget it. But if you experience the answer, it's going to stay and stick with you forever.
And at the same time, if you can't learn from somebody else's mistakes, and the person that's in the thick of whatever it is they're in the thick of,
Mm-hmm.
they won't believe you in the first place.
Completely.
Like if you see somebody who's like a drug addict, for example, and you tell them that there's a way out, there isn't to them.
No.
All they need to do is figure
They're
out.
drowning.
They need to solve the problem that they're in right now, and whatever it is that you have to offer them won't do anything.
Yeah.
And then when times are okay for the addict, they're not going to, at that point, they're not going to say, okay, well, I'm going to step out. I'm going to try and work things out for myself.
Exactly.
They're gonna be like, I'm going to take this reprieve. I'm going to take this breather, and I'm going to make it work.
Mhm.
I know. I was in the mindset of an addict for a long time. I loved my alcohol. I loved my drugs. I loved everything. I'm not even shy of talking about it. Breaking free from it, moving on from it, getting into it, getting past it was the greatest. What's the term? I don't want to say awakening, but like visionary breakthrough. Like they've pulled the wool off of my eyes. I can see it now, like that scruffy dog where he pulled the wrinkles up.
I think anytime you're in a situation, whether it's drugs, alcohol, even relationships, when you're in it, you see things differently than when you're out of it.
Well, yeah, you're
the time.
You're out of a relationship now that, looking back on it, isn't as rosy as it was a year ago, even though it wasn't that rosy. But
Yeah,
you're seeing things differently.
completely.
And the funny thing about that too is when you look back and you see the person, and they haven't changed one iota. You're like, what? What's happening right now?
Yeah. I think also too, like even for me, for the longest time holding on to hope, change, and it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. These promises, they're gonna come to fruition. I've been in this long. Let's just keep on going.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you're just like, okay,
It's not coming.
it's not coming. And no matter how many times you've been promised it's coming, you need to either decide, do you keep going down the path of promises, or do you just say, okay, let's try something new?
And that's a growth pattern for you as well, because now you're like, this is the shit that I'm not going to put up with anymore.
100%. I have a relationship list in my mind. I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm willing to work through and this is what I'm not.
You take notes a lot too, so you've probably got that in more than just your mind.
Yeah, I got it in notebooks. I got it in my journal. I got it in my vision board.
Yeah.
I am a visual person.
Yeah.
But it also helps me to organize a lot of my thoughts too. And it changes. One moment I'll think, okay, I am not going to date someone that, I don't know. I'm going to throw something stupid out there because I know it's easy. Like, I'm not going to date someone who watches wrestling. I'm like, okay, that's stupid. Now I'm like, well, it's not actually harmful.
Ladies and gentlemen, just as a piece of perspective, she's currently wearing an Austin 316 t-shirt, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, it's a TV show. But I remember you talking about that. You're like, these are my, hard nose.
Yeah.
But when you can sort of bend on that, again, in everything in life, when you can bend on that and experience it and be like, okay, so this ain't so bad.
Yeah, there's certain things that I definitely am willing to bend on. Will I ever be in a relationship with someone who is a regular drinker? No. I've made that as a hard stop in my life.
And as somebody who was a regular drinker, I'm in the same boat. I don't want to be around the energy of somebody who's a regular drinker.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock to regular drinkers. You guys get out there, you have your fun, you do your thing.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is what you don't know. And when you put the bottle down for a prolonged period of time, you become a different person because you have different goals, different energy, different light, different the whole 9 yards.
Completely.
And I love all my friends who drink. I love that sort of stuff. You guys are all amazing people. But there's a difference in energy between somebody who may have a drink from time to time and somebody who drinks 3 or 4 times a week.
Or every single day.
Yeah, to reprieve, to get out, to reward yourself for the toughness of the day.
Mm.
You are keeping yourself stuck. And that, to me, is, it's very limiting. And again, I'm not knocking you. I'm not doing anything like that. But as far as a relationship or a future with me, it wouldn't be successful.
Completely. And I think that's healthy for anyone. Like, if anyone's in a relationship, it's kind of healthy to take stock on.
You got to match that person.
Completely. Because if not, one side of that relationship is going to be really happy and one's going to not be so happy.
Very true. No, it's a beautiful yin and yang. Once you start loving yourself and what you're willing to accept and put into certain things.
Yeah.
Growth and compromise is beautiful in a lot of ways. As long as it's the right thing. And how do you know it's the right thing? Your gut will always tell you it's the right thing, I think.
Completely.
I believe. We've done an hour and we had a guest. So this was kind of fun. We did a call in. We did an in-house. This is 2 people.
Snap.
I know we did an hour long so far.
It went fast.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We could probably do it again. I want to, again, as I travel, I want to be able to do these things more and more. So I want to have the gear. And this is a big clunky thing to haul around all these mics and all that sort of stuff to sort of set something up. But I'd love the idea of having multiple sources and just merging it in post and having the group conversation, sitting around a room where we've all got some sort of mic.
Do you want to rent a van and just do a traveling podcast and we just go across the world, just meeting people and just chatting with them?
We should just buy the van and sell it when we get there.
Okay.
Yes. And yes, I do.
I just want an adventure. Who wants to go on an adventure with me?
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of Jay and I met van people, and I never reached back out to them.
Oh yeah.
I do have them on Facebook, maybe, or on Instagram. Maybe I'll try them again. But it'd be fun to have them on the show and sort of get their perspective on things, and see how they're doing it. These people are van social media people, and they're traveling around and they're doing this stuff. They're filming stuff. They're van life people, and that's a huge thing on YouTube. They've got sponsors. They're getting paid. Yeah. They're getting all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I got chihuahuas. They can totally be in a van.
That was the other chihuahua. Remember in Merrickville, they had the chihuahua that came up and sat on me. Like, he never does that. I'm like, well, I've got 2 at home. So yeah, it's pretty good. I want to get them on the show. But yeah, if this was my 300th episode, if it goes up as number 300, then That's kind of fun. It's not great. It's not monumentous. We didn't set off fireworks or anything like that. I mean, I suppose I could play a fireworks soundtrack. Pew, pew, pew. Oh, there we go. Now we've had fireworks.
That was pretty wimpy.
Pew, 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 pew. But yeah, I think 500 will be monumental for me. 400 should be. 200 was a bust. 200. The funny thing about my 200th episode was, I had old business partners that ended up being, one of them ended up just being a straight up psychopath that he let his true colors show like once or twice. And I was like, wow, I've seen this. I've seen it before. And it never ends well. So I was like, okay, I can't have that.
Well, it's not a bust. It's an experience, right? It was
right after the 200th that they were gone. I'm like, oh, I wasted my 200th. So, I don't put any stock
That means I
in
have
them.
to stick around or you just wasted your 300.
Oh, I wasted my 300th.
I'm no longer friends with this lady.
She had to go. Yeah, it's the curse of the 100th episode.
Good God, sir.
That'd be a funny curse to implement. This thing is weird. It's all loose. I don't think that's going to be the case with you. I hope it's not the case with you. You seem like a nice
We
person.
got good chats.
Yeah, we'll keep you around for a little bit.
Just a little.
I should reach out to Randy, but we're running long here. Ladies and gentlemen, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Thank you very much for listening to my 300th episode. This was a lot of fun. Just a lot of playing around, a lot of sampling, a lot of this, a lot of that. No idea what to expect. Had a little bit of fun. Probably pissed off a few people. I think we made a few people laugh. I think I laughed a little bit. Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun, always.
Yeah, that's a good time. Is this your first in-person podcast, or like have you done a face-to-face before?
On mine.
You have, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with Curtis, right? Yeah.
Curtis. Yeah, Kelly was face-to-face. Adri was face-to-face.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I like
How do you-
face-to-face.
How do you do that, though?
I love it.
You just shared a mic?
No, we each had our own mic and one camera.
So what were you mic'd into?
My laptop.
You were okay.
I don't have such a professional setup as you. So like once I level up to that, it's game over, dude.
But my thought was, how do you run two mics into one laptop?
Well, I don't know. I remember actually, those were my first episodes, and you're like, your audio is shit, girl. And I was oh, thanks. So I did it wrong, I'm sure.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, there's multiple ways, but I'm asking how you did it because I'm like, I don't remember listening to the show.
The fact that I actually got content out, I'm more proud of than.
And that's the only thing that really counts, honestly. To get started and to get going on that, like nobody wants to get going.
Once I figure out a name, I'll probably launch some more episodes, but I'm not gonna.
Plus, you've been busy as hell at every single rock concert that ever rolled through Eastern Ontario.
This has been probably the busiest summer I've ever had in my entire life.
You asked for it, so you got it.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's still awesome. We're only just starting August.
I know, but August is so planned for. It feels like it's over, even though it just started.
Yeah, July went on forever.
Tomorrow, Chevelle.
Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Yeah.
One of my last must see, have never seen before, the band Chevelle. They're in Toronto. That should be a lot of fun tomorrow. Again, I say tomorrow, but I have no idea when this episode's going to air, so it's not tomorrow. But it is tomorrow
Whatever
for me.
day it is.
As we're recording. Yeah. Whenever this episode goes up, it'll be good times. It'll be all right. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. It's good times. Good times. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green,
keep your stick on the ice.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways. But also, leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.